Yashodanandana Pradajana Ranjana Yamunatira Manachari Yamunatira Manachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Vishnupan Paramahamsa Pri Vijakacharya Stotha Shri Shrimad Nitya Lila Visdom His Divine Grace Shilabhai Charanarvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj ISKCON's BBD Founder Charya Jagaguru Bhadita Pavana Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Radharaja Shrimad Bhāgavatam Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Govinda Dev Ki Jai Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Guranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, Hare Krishna. Nama Om Vishnu Pajaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Sri Mate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskita Deshatarane. I offer my respectful obeisances unto His Divine Grace Srila Abhayacharana Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada was very dear to Lord Krishna on this earth, having taken shelter at the feet of the Transcendental Lord. Obeisances unto you, O spiritual master, O servant of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. You are so kindly preaching the message of Lord Sri Chaitanya Dev and are saving these Western countries which are full of impersonalism and voidism. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tojayam Udirayat Nasta Pareshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Shrimad Bhāgavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 33, Activities of Kapila, Text 12. Maitreya Uvacha, Iti, Padarshya, Bhagavan, Satim, Tam, Atmano, Gatim, Sva, Matra, Rama, Vadinya, Kapilo, Numato, Yayo, Maitreya Uvacha, Iti Pradarshya Bhagavan, Satim Tam Atmanogatim, Svamatra Brahma Vadinya, Kapilo Numato Yoyo, Maitreya Uvacha, Iti Pradarshya Bhagavan, Satim Tam Atmanogatim, Svamatra Brahma Vadinya, Kapilo Numato Yoyo, Maitreya Uvacha, Iti Pradarshya Bhagavan, Satim Tam Atmanogatim, Samatra Brahma Vadinya Kapilo Numato Yoyo
Maitreya Uvacha Tivradarsha Bhagavan Satim Kammatmanogatim Samatra Brahmavadinya Kapilo Numato Yoyo Maitreya Uvacha Tivradarsha Bhagavan Satim Tamat Manogatim Samatra Brahmavadinya Kapilo Numato Yoyo Maitreya Vacha Satim Tamat Manogatim Samatra Brahmavadinya Kapilo Numato Yoyo.
Manji.
Maitreya Uvacha Yati Pradarshya Bhagavan Satim Tamat Manogatim Swamatra Brahmavadinya Kapilo Numato Yoyo. Maitreya Uvacha Yati Pradarshya Bhagavan Satim Tamat Manogatim Samatra Brahmavadinya Kapilo Numato Yoyo.
Maitreya Uvacha. Maitreya said, Iti, thus, Padashya, after instructing Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Satim, venerable, Tam, that, Atmanaha, of self-realization, Gatim, path, Svamatra, from his mother, Brahmavadinya, self-realized, Kapila, Lord Kapila, Anumata, took permission, Yayo, left. Sri Maitreya said, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kapila, after instructing his beloved mother, took permission from her and left his home, his mission having been fulfilled. Purport. The mission of the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the form of Kapila was to distribute the transcendental knowledge of Sankhya philosophy, which is full of devotional service. Having imparted that knowledge to his mother, and through his mother to the world, Kapila Dev had no more need to stay at home. So he took permission from his mother and left. Apparently, he left home for spiritual realization, although he had nothing to realize spiritually because he himself is the person to be spiritually realized. Therefore, this is an example set by the Supreme Personality of Godhead while acting like an ordinary human being so that others might learn from him. He could, of course, have stayed with his mother, but he indicated that there was no need to stay with the family. It is best to remain alone as a brahmachari, sannyasi, or vanaprastha and cultivate Krishna consciousness throughout one's whole life. Those who are unable to remain alone are given license to live in household life with wife and children, not for sense gratification, but for cultivation of Krishna consciousness. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Amilitam Dena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Dena Bhutale Smayam Rupagada Mayam Dadati Svapatantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagujatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Vitamscha E Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Dibyad Bindaranya Kalpa Jumada Srimad Ratnagara Singhasanasto Srimad Radha Shilagovinda Devo Prestalabi Sevimano Smarami Maitreya Uvacha Iti Pradashya Bhagavan Satim Tam Atmanogatim Samatra Brahma Vadinya Kapilo Numato Yayo. Sri Maitreya said, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Kapila, after instructing his beloved mother, took permission from her and left his home, his mission having been fulfilled. So interesting or notable here in the purport. I think the bell is not required. Kapila Dev has fully instructed his mother in Sankhya philosophy, which is full of devotional service. And as the devotee is instructed by the Lord, just like Arjuna or Vidura is here being instructed by Maitreya, having imparted that knowledge to his devotee, his mother, and through his mother to the world, Kapila Dev had no need to stay at home because his mission was fulfilled. He took permission from his mother and left. Kapila Dev is an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Krishna even mentions in the Bhagavad Gita that whatever a great soul does, he sets the standard by which the whole world or everyone will pursue, or because he's a saintly person, authorized person, should pursue. In Kali Yuga, that which is not saintly and not religious flips over and becomes the opposite. Actually, that which is spiritual, that which is saintly, that which is religious is the most desirable, should be the most sought after, the most emulated, the most strived for. So, but in this day and age, one who has some portion of some or several, or if possible, something of all six categories of Bhagavan, the six opulences of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There's many definitions of God in Krishna consciousness, in the Vedic knowledge. you see in mainstream religions or the common religions, what will you get? God is the supreme being? What else? What other definitions could be there?
The Creator.
Creator. So, one disciple was approaching Srila Prabhupada for initiation, and Prabhupada said, "Do you know the definition of God?" And the devotee, waiting expectantly for Prabhupada to say, "He is the one who has no one is equal to or greater than him." That's quite an eye-opener for many people, especially these days, with the nonsensical idea, you're God, I'm God, we're all God. But here, Bhagavan, one who is complete in 6 opulences, all wealth, all strength, all knowledge, all renunciation, all beauty. What did I forget? Did I say wealth? Fame. No one can be more famous. Everybody wants to be famous. So someone who is a movie star or have some type of physical or attractive beauty, someone who is very, very rich, someone who is very, very famous. Fame could be many things. If you are, let's say, politically influential. So people like that, they become attracted to that. But unfortunately, those things in the Kali Yuga are not used in benefiting others or in the service of others, or really to the point, for the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Narottam Das Thakur, he shows us and he teaches us, may your fame be spread throughout the 3 worlds. And in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is mentioned in regards to Madhavendra Puri, even the devotee doesn't want to become famous. What is perhaps the most worshipable position in praiseworthy, you're going to get a lot of praise, famous, becoming the spiritual master or guru. So Srila Prabhupada's godbrother, who they were friendly throughout their whole life, very favorable, B.R. Sridhar Maharaj, he had said the qualification to take such a position is when you've done everything to try to avoid it. So Madhavendra Puri, he's trying to avoid the fame that certainly is due him for the deity, Gopinath, then to become the deity's name. Can you imagine the deity's name changes? It wasn't some official decree, it was just like appeared in everybody's heart and mind. Now the deity will be known as Shir Chor. And what does that mean? You have to be Krishna conscious to understand it and respect it. The thief who stole the sweet rice. And Prabhupada says, a thief is never praised, or maybe these days in this crazy political environment that, the person trying to guard their store will get arrested and the thief is going to be praised, the shoplifter. A thief is never praised, but when the Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes a thief, it's the most glorious thing. Makanchor, Krishna, the butter thief. He stole the butter that the gopis kept hanging in their storerooms. And as a thief, getting caught by Mother Yashoda, he started crying. He was breathing heavily. And what does Satyabrata Muni say about this scene? I simply bowed down and wished to have this vision in my mind constantly. So whatever a great man does, all the world pursues. So therefore, Prabhupada said there's such need for saintly persons to show the proper example, or to show, by their example, what is actually to be desirable, what is actually to be sought after, what type of lifestyle should be pursued. So therefore, this word mission, very, very important. We were mentioning sometime recently in one class that in Prabhupada's married life, his wife was very pious, very religious, very, very dutiful, good wife by all normal calculation, but she resisted and ultimately became a serious stumbling block for Prabhupada to fulfill the mission, the order of his spiritual master. It wasn't that just Prabhupada was preaching English. He said the final instruction is more important than the previous instructions of the spiritual master. And certainly the momentousness of Prabhupada inquiring from his spiritual master in mid-December 1936, "How may I serve you?" And interestingly enough, in regards to the subject matter in today's purport, you have many disciples, sannyasis, brahmacharis, but I am a grihasta, I cannot. And Prabhupada had been made fun of by his godbrothers. What was the Bengali word? Kacha? Rotten grihasta. Huh? Grihastas are rotten. It's like the brahmachari type of false pride. We have a nice Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati story which will kind of reveal the bad mentality, even if it's dressed in a nice, deflecting appearance, that you might think that such persons are saintly, but perhaps they're demonstrating something which shows that they're just as bad, or maybe even worse, than the ones that they say that they're better than. We'll get to that in due course of time. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta knew all along who his beloved disciple was and what he would do. So the last instruction, I think that you should present our novel ideas and thoughts to those who are not conversant with the language of the already existing members. What does that mean? You should present it to everybody. There's also languages on different planets in this universe that we're not aware of on this planet, right? May your fame be spread throughout the 14 planetary systems. Not just on this planet. You're famous all over the universe, and for all of time everlasting. Krishna has no business at all. He has nothing to do. But what does he want to do? He's Bhakta Vatsal. He's very affectionate to his devotees. You declare it boldly, Arjuna, my devotee never perishes. He wants his devotee to be more famous than he himself, although he is the source of fame unlimited. That is the very sweet and intimate and affectionate relationship between Krishna and his devotee. And Prabhupada was so much in love with Krishna and so much wanted to give Krishna to others. His position of being the worthy shelter of his disciples and for every living entity in this universe was beyond comparison or beyond argument or doubt. One time, one disciple was praising Srila Prabhupada. I forget exactly the context, that you will never cheat me. And Prabhupada said, I may cheat you. Can you imagine Prabhupada saying this in his humility? But if you go to Krishna, no, I may let you down. Those were the words, let you down. But if you go to Krishna, Krishna will never let you down. See the difference between Kapila as an incarnation and the full Swayambhu Bhagavan Sri Krishna, whose appearance day we'll be celebrating in 13 days. Now, if Kapila Dev had stayed at home, he could have, but he left to set the example. Perhaps the understanding of Kapila Dev might be somewhat different. Krishna, he left home, he left Vrindavan, and he left his pure devotees in an ocean of lamentation in his separation. But did he go on for renunciation? No. He married 16,108 queens, wives, and made opulent palaces for each and every one of them. He became practically or arguably, we could say, much more involved with opulence and possessions and all types of political calculations and diplomacies, etc., etc. And people who are uninformed, foolish, and or just plain envious, they criticize Krishna. What type of God is this? Dancing with the wives of other men. They don't understand that Krishna is Akila Rasamrita Sindhu Murti, that he is the source of all loving relationships, and that he has the sole right to have any type of relationship he wants with any other living entity, culminating in what is the Adi Ras, the supreme Ras, having a conjugal relationship with others. The womanly form is strictly meant for Krishna's enjoyment. That is the manifestation of his internal Shaktis. The gopis of Vrindavan, the queens of Dwarka. I offer my obeisances to your most beloved Srimati Radharani and to your unlimited path. Satyavrata Muni concludes his prayer, his Damodarastakam. This is absolute truth and absolute reality, and the pure devotees, or those aspiring for the platform of pure devotional service, in the same wake of this flood of love of Godhead, they go beyond this envy and understand Krishna's position, who he actually is. Now we have Lord Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra here. They are Krishna and Balaram with their sister Subhadra, who are in ecstatic mood, in very profound ecstasy, meditating and thinking about the love the residents of Vrindavan have in their separation. And it moves them to such a point, Krishna and Balaram. They're as Jagannath, they're as Dwarkadish and Baladev in their princely, kingly life. They wish to go back to Vrindavan. And that is our Rath Yatra festival. This is another manifestation of Srila Prabhupada's intense desire to spread the topmost love of Vrindavan. How many Jagannath Rath Yatras are there in ISKCON today around the world? That's a very good number to try to research. You speak loudly. Translation?
As many temples as there are Jagannath deities.
Huh?
As many deities as there are.
Only 5 or 6.
Well, maybe one set of Jagannath deities goes to more Rath Yatras than just one. You gotta take that one out.
More than 10.
So, Krishna, he is filled with, he's the source of unlimited renunciation. But one thing he does not renounce, the love of his devotees. So in the material world, the perverted reflection of these loving relationships are there in materialistic, non-Krishna conscious, or let's say demoniac relationships. So here is a little taste from the 5th canto of Shrimad Bhāgavatam, just to sort of, we're blind Lady Justice here with balancing the scales. Pumsa striya maitunadi bhavametam tayor mito hirdaya grantamahu atogriyak setra sutapta viter janasyamo ho yam aham nameti. The attraction between male and female is the basic principle of material existence. On the basis of this misconception, which ties together the hearts of the male and female, one becomes attracted to his body, home, property, children, relatives, and wealth. In this way, one increases life's illusions and thinks in terms of I and mine. Sex serves as the natural attraction between man and woman, and when they are married, their relationship becomes more involved. Due to the entangling relationship between man and woman, there is a sense of illusion whereby one thinks, this man is my husband, or this woman is my wife. This is called hirdaya granti, the hard knot in the heart. This knot is very difficult to undo, even though a man and woman separate either for the principles of varnashram or simply to get a divorce. So, the vanaprastha is, if you look at how it is divided, how many years of life that it's recommended to stay in a particular ashram, there's a considerable number of years. Because, to kind of organically or properly and also functionally put everything in order, and along with seeing your youth evaporating and going away and old age coming, you can naturally make the transition, both husband and wife, both man and woman. Jayadvaita Maharaj has in recent years coined a saying called Vanaprastha, the forgotten ashram. If you read Prabhupada's books, he again and again in so many places describes how after completing the Grihastha ashram, which is mainly based on the children are now grown-up adults, there's certainly no more physical relationship between the husband and wife, and they should actually leave home and travel to places of pilgrimage, not be involved in family affairs. In other words, okay, there might be grandchildren, but it's not the duty of the grandma and the grandpa to raise the children. That's the position of their sons and daughters. That's their responsibility because they're mother and father. And then ultimately, when both husband and wife are mature, they completely separate because of not by force or but by natural absorption more in Krishna consciousness. In any case, the man always, now back again to non-Krishna conscious, demoniac lifestyle. In any case, the man always thinks of the woman, and the woman always thinks of the man. Especially these days, whether by divorce or you're widowed or widower, well, let's get married again. Because they don't have Krishna in their life, they don't have the mission of the spiritual master to absorb their mind, consciousness, and intelligence, so go back to create a new material attraction. Thus, a person becomes materially attracted to family, property, and children, although all of these are temporary. The possessor unfortunately identifies with his property and wealth. Sometimes, even after renunciation, one becomes attached to a temple or to the few things that constitute the property of a sannyasi, but such attachment is not as strong as family attachment. This leads us to our story from Om Vishnupad Sri Shrimad Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. I think many of you or all of you here are familiar with this story. Here the story is called A Family for the Gita. It's about the mouse chewing the Bhagavad Gita. But the purport, perhaps you haven't heard, and I'm interrupting our purport here from Srila Prabhupada, where he says, even after renunciation, one becomes attached to a temple or a few things that constitute the property of a sannyasi, but such attachment is not as strong as family attachment. Now, Srila Prabhupada he received his spiritual birth or emerging as a Nityasiddha devotee of Srila Prabhupada through Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who was also manifesting a society of devotees which is or was at the time called the Gaudiya Math. Srila Prabhupada never really fit in or was embraced or heartily welcomed by the entirety of the Gaudiya Math. That also shows that there's individual relationships. And even it was noted by his spiritual master, who saw that this is good that he... And in the Prabhupada Lilamrita, just after the disappearance of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, infighting in the Math, which he had predicted, fighting over rooms, over property, over prestige, over position, broke out. And it was severe. There were physical fightings, like assault, and then, legal, fighting for properties and stuff, which dragged on for decades. And what seemed to be a disadvantage, that he wasn't really an inner member of the Gaudiya Math, now it was to his advantage that he was an outsider, because he wasn't so much affected by it. His mind and emotions weren't sucked into the thing like it was for so many others. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta even admitted, I wish to live another 10 years, and he even wanted to come here to the United States of America. But he said the infighting in the Gaudiya Math shortened my time on this earth. And devotees say that his wish was fulfilled 10 plus 2, because Prabhupada came in 1965 and 1967. Not only did Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, through Srila Prabhupada, stay in America, but he was able to go all over the world. A family for the Gita. So you'll see in the purport, it's clear that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta is, from his own practical experience and disappointment and frustration with some of his disciples, you can see how he's writing. Once a renowned spiritual master presented his disciple with a copy of the holy Bhagavad Gita, advising him to study the book all the time. Mahatma Gandhi, one who reads Bhagavad Gita will derive fresh meanings and joy from it every day. The disciple started reading the Gita sitting inside a cave in the Vindhya Hills. This is South India, right? Vindhya Hills. A small mouse, squeak, in the cave started eating the pages of the Gita every day, thus being extremely perturbed with this mischief caused by the mouse. The disciple brought, meow, a kitten from a nearby village. Then milk was required for the maintenance of the kitten. Considering all the related problems of acquiring milk every day, the need for keeping a cow was strongly felt by the disciple. So we have to catch ourselves. You know, we're supposed to be compassionate, but we don't want to be guilty of misplaced compassion. By the grace of the Lord, a kind-hearted person gifted one cow. Pusta Krishna, who was actually accompanying Gargamuni, was a brahmachari, only 20 years old at the time, to East Pakistan, that soon to become Bangladesh. And, you know, there was some here we talk about false news, fake news, okay? There was a fake report that 4 Hare Krishna missionaries were killed in Pakistan. And Prabhupada was just beside himself with anxiety. And Brahmananda turned up. They both turned up, and they came to visit Prabhupada in Bombay. And one of the rare times that Prabhupada fully embraced a disciple, you know, and like a Bengali mother, you know, rubbing their head and touching all the body, like coming back from the death, you know. And so Pusta Krishna was there witnessing that, and Prabhupada was very impressed with him, saying, I will make this boy a sannyasi, which later he became. I forget why I'm telling this. It'll come back to me, probably. No. Pusta Krishna, Gargamuni. Anyway, we go off on tangents. Sometimes I lose the way back. We'll figure it out. So that the cow might stay safely and comfortably, the renounced disciple built a barn with much labor and effort. Thereafter came the anxiety for the day-to-day care and maintenance of the cow, providing her with regular fodder and water. Over and above this, the renounced disciple was very anxious about spoiling his devotional performances while caring for the cow, and as such, he decided to appoint a cowherd. The cowherd took charge of maintaining the cow, but then who was going to feed the cowherd and look after his duties regularly? So after much deliberation and deep thought and really trying to figure it out, finally the anxious sannyasi got married. Gradually, his family swelled up. He acquired vast property, manpower, and a big bank balance. And a big palace. The sannyasi thus became an out-and-out family man, leaving aside his study of the Gita. After a long lapse of time, his spiritual master, trying to find out his disciples' whereabouts, happened to come in front of the sannyasi disciples' palace. Looking at the material opulence and the host of the family members of the sannyasi, he asked, "What is all this?" Then the disciple submitted everything with folded hands in front of his spiritual master, "Oh, my master, this is the family I had to build up for the sake of your Gita. Do you remember?" Purport: a truly Krishna-conscious person should not increase the magnitude of his wants and requirements in the name of, quote, yukta vairagya, unquote, proper renunciation. A living entity engaged in devotional service should never consider himself to be equal in status and position with a perfectly liberated great soul. We should never think of ourselves as great devotees, but simply aspire to become instrumental in the hands of the predecessor acharyas. Then we can actually do something for suffering humanity. That is the secret of success, that mentality. One should always keep it through every stage of one's spiritual life. Never lose that. One who is engaged in devotional service, either as a sannyasi or as a grihasta, must adhere strictly to the scriptural injunction which prescribes thus: Yavani vaha patigraha. He should endeavor only for that much which is essentially required in favor of worshiping Sri Hari. His material activities should neither be excessive nor very scanty, as either of them leads to deviation from spiritual upliftment. Persons undertaking the rigors of celibacy, brahmacharya, seclusion, vanaprastha, and renunciation, sannyas, as their ways of living, ashram, and so staying in a secluded holy place, such as a mat or temple, away from home, or engrossing themselves in the devotional services to Lord Sri Hari, might also find themselves entangled in such a family for the sake of the Gita, in case they become enchanted with the thoughts of daily wants and requirements, thus deceiving themselves in the name of favoring devotional services to Lord Sri Hari. So an honest person must be very careful. He should not fall under the clutches of the illusory energy Maya while pretending to acquire favorable objects for devotional services to Sri Hari. The material senses are always thirsty for objects of sense gratification. Pretending to attain perfection through carefully listening and adhering to myriads of injunctions from great liberated souls, our wicked, mischievous, uncontrollable, extroverted mind, along with its propensities, endeavors to acquire gratifying objects falsely, ascribing them as favorable to devotional service to Sri Hari, while taking recourse to hypocritical diplomatic demeanors. Many of us become highly attracted to material knowledge in the name of studying scriptures or learning an erudition. One of Prabhupada's disciples was with Prabhupada a very long time, was one of the early disciples. He ultimately left because of this, and Prabhupada said of this disciple, he has the over-intelligence disease. As soon as you think that you're more intelligent than your spiritual master, then you are fallen. We become much attached to physical comfort and to our dependent wife and children through self-deception of undergoing family life with a plea to observe yukta vairagya, proper renunciation, and offering devotional services to Lord Sri Hari simultaneously. I build a big giant Taj Mahal for myself in New Jersey, and I give $50 once every couple of months, in the donation box, One for, in the beginning, okay, one for Krishna, one for me, one for Krishna, nobody's looking, two for me, and then it ends up, all for me and none for Krishna in due course of time. Even after becoming a sannyasi, a brahmacharya, Krishna-conscious grihasta, or a vanaprastha, many of us desire to attain material reputation and fame, and we try to lord it over everyone and everything. This will cause us utter spiritual destruction. It is therefore most essential to crave for the mercy of the pure, honest devotees, constantly keeping ourselves in their uncontaminated association with complete loyalty and allegiance, and thus exposing before them all of our misgivings, so that we may be blessed with their inestimable guidance. So we're very, very fortunate that the mission of Lord Chaitanya and the Acharyas is not going away. It is always here, and especially in this great city of New York. We were just speaking with 4 very nice devotees from Bucharest, Romania, and they have to be very clandestine in their activities. They can't appear as devotees in public. We said, well, maybe we could have a Harinam once, twice, but the third time, then that will be shut down forever. We can't, ISKCON cannot be legally incorporated there. We have to call it, Vedic something or other. And it just, I just hearing this, I'm like, boy, oh boy, what a great Sankirtan spot we have here. We can do whatever we want, whenever we want, for as long as we want, no problem. And what do we want to do? We want to qualitatively and quantitatively give Krishna consciousness to as many living entities as possible, as quick as possible. So Hurricane Debbie, we had to be 3 days in the suffocating Times Square 42nd Street subway. We chose 8th Avenue because, the homeless people opened the doors to the bus terminal and all the air conditioning comes out and gives us some relief. Okay, but then 50,000 people walk past us in the time we're doing Harinam every single day. Where else can you get that opportunity? So we're breathing the, whatever you want to call it. You could probably take like a scientific analyzation of the air there, but that qualifies us ultimately to breathe the beautiful and pure and completely pristine air of Krishna's Goloka Vrindavan. That's right. So, always adhering to the mission, that will keep one safe, that will ultimately purify you, and ultimately safeguard you from all dangers on the road. Prabhupada said even on the royal roads there is danger and there is risk of accident. So whatever ashram that you choose or that you should be in for whatever length of time, we should keep in mind that whether one is a sannyasi living in the forest or grihastha living in the home, if he is chanting the name of Lord Chaitanya, then I want his association. Hare Krishna. The verse once again. Maitreya uvacha eti pradishya bhagavan satim tam atmanogatim svamatra brahma vadinya kapilo numato yayo. Sri Maitreya said, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Kapila, after instructing his beloved mother, took permission from her and left his home, his mission having been fulfilled. Thank you very much. Any quick question or comment that we could squeeze in or cheat in past 9 o'clock time, which we are now guilty of surpassing? So we will now bow down at the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada and his beloved Sri Sri Radha Govinda, Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Devi, and Sri Sri Gauranitai, and thank them for this wonderful opportunity to make this New York City Yatradham our home and to engage vigorously, enthusiastically, and joyfully in propagating their glories far and wide. Hare Krishna.
His grace, Rama, Prabhu.